In an industry built on ephemerality, Azzedine Alaia made permanence feel like the ultimate rebellion. He didn't follow trends, he ignored them. He didn't obey the fashion calendar, he openly defied it. He didn't build a brand around hype, he built a world, one fitting at a time. Born in Tunis, trained as a sculptor, and eventually hailed as one of the greatest couturiers of the late 20th century, Alaia didn't just make clothes. He shaped desire. From the 1980s through the early 2000s, his name became synonymous with an architectural sensuality. Stretch knits molded to the body like second skin. Leather sliced into intricate geometries. Silhouettes so precise, they felt like armor for the feminine spirit. He designed not for the gaze, but for the woman. And not just any woman, but those who commanded presence. Grace Jones, Tina Turner, Naomi Campbell, era-defining figures who demonstrated just how transformative his design approach was. In an era of fashion's theatricality, Gaultier's camp, Mugler's futurism, Galliano's pageantry, Alaia was almost monastic. No fanfare, no soundtrack, no seasonal extravaganza, just cloth, cut, and an obsessive devotion to the human form. He was the designer designers revered. The media dubbed him the King of Cling. But that misses the point. Alaia's work wasn't about revealing, it was about respecting. Design steeped in strength, intention, and geometry. Powerful precision in every line, curve, and cut. As the industry contorts under the pressures of speed, spectacle, and surplus, Alaia's legacy feels more radical than ever, because he proved that mastery is what truly endures. In this episode, we go deeper into the discipline, defiance, and quiet genius of Azzedine. And as the brand reaches new heights of popularity and industry-wide influence, establishing a deeper cult base under Pieter Mulier, we explore how Alaia changed fashion. Welcome back to Superluxe, where we discuss luxury fashion and culture. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe and thanks for watching. Azzedine Alaia never saw fashion as decoration. He saw it as construction, an act closer to architecture than adornment. That clarity began early. Born in 1935 in Tunis to a wheat farmer's family, he was a child with a fascination for the female form, sketching figures from an early age and finding sanctuary in the local museum sculptures. By the time he moved to Paris in the 1950s, he wasn't chasing style, he was chasing structure. At the École des Beaux-Arts, Alaia studied sculpture formally, and it shaped everything he would later do with fabric. The body wasn't a canvas for him, it was the foundation. While most designers designed around the body, Alaia designed with it, against it, in collaboration with its every curve, dip, and muscle. It wasn't fashion, it was anatomy. His early years in Paris were quiet but formative. He worked under Christian Dior briefly, assisted Guy Laroche and later Thierry Mugler, absorbing haute couture technique but discarding its pomp. He learned how garments could be built with the same logic as buildings: support, tension, volume, and release. From the beginning, Alaia resisted the abstraction of fashion seasons. He didn't believe in the tyranny of time. "I do it when I'm ready," he famously said. And that readiness wasn't driven by deadlines, but by discipline. Fittings with him were legendary. Hours, sometimes days, spent perfecting the fall of a hem or the pressure of a seam. Not because he was indulgent, but because he believed a woman deserved clothing that was precise, intentional, and above all, enduring. For Alaia, couture wasn't about fantasy, it was about fidelity to the body. The hand-sewn stitches, the moulded seams, the custom knits, it all served a singular devotion to how a woman feels in his clothes. His garments didn't perform, they formed. The body was never a trend for him, it was a truth. And that obsession, with honesty, with discipline, with the sculptural essence of design, became the unshakable core of everything that followed. To describe Azzedine Alaia's aesthetic as merely sexy is to miss the precision of his sensuality. He wasn't interested in provocation for its own sake. His vision of allure was calculated, sculptural, and deeply cerebral. In Alaia's world, sexiness wasn't loud. It was engineered. He mastered the second skin silhouette, not as a gimmick, but as a technique. His stretch knit dresses, often built with complex inner structures, hugged the body without constraining it. They moved with the woman, not against her. Unlike other designers who weaponized the bodycon as a means of shock or exposure, Alaia's versions were quieter and smarter. They were about liberation through control, about architecture, not exaggeration. Then there was the leather, perforated, laser-cut, manipulated like lace. Garments that looked almost soft from afar, but revealed an astonishing technical rigour up close. Alaia could take a material historically coded as hard, even aggressive, and transform it into something intimate, almost tender. His corset dresses followed the same logic. Disciplined construction, yes, but always with reverence for the body beneath. What makes Alaia's work endure is his refusal to chase novelty. He returned to the same motifs, the same principles, again and again, like a composer refining a symphony over a lifetime. There was no fear of repetition. In fact, repetition was the point. Because for Alaia, a perfect idea didn't age. It didn't expire with the season. It lived. This resistance to churn, this defiance of fashion's compulsive appetite for the new, was perhaps his most radical act. He didn't want to surprise you with a gimmick. He wanted to seduce you with mastery. His collections weren't theme parks. They were variations on a lifelong thesis about the power of shape, the intelligence of structure, and the dignity of discipline. Controlled sensuality, that was Alaia's language. And he spoke it fluently, season after season, even when he refused to show a season at all. In a business where women are often treated as interchangeable bodies, Azzedine Alaia built something radically different, a sanctuary. His studio wasn't just a workspace, it was a world. His home in the Marais, where he lived, designed, cooked and entertained, became a haven for the women who modelled his clothes. Naomi Campbell called him Papa. She met him at just 16 and quickly became one of his most enduring muses. Not just because she looked extraordinary in his work, but because he cared for her as a daughter. When she was alone in Paris, he took her in. When she walked his shows, she wasn't performing, she was home. That bond was more than symbolic, it was structural. Farida Kelfer, another longtime muse, brought a statuesque presence and fierce intellect to his fittings. Stephanie Seymour, with her curvaceous frame and piercing poise, became an emblem of his architectural sensuality. These women weren't cast, they were chosen, again and again. Because for Alaia, loyalty wasn't nostalgic, it was essential. He refused the model of the moment culture. No roulette of fresh faces every season. Instead, he designed on and for the same bodies, refining his understanding of each curve, each movement, each silhouette. The result was a kind of feedback loop between designer and muse, a collaboration built on time, on touch, on care. And the care extended beyond cloth. Alaia cooked for his models, hosted them, protected them. In an industry that often commodifies beauty, he honoured it. He knew that a woman wasn't just an image, she was a life. In the house of Alaia, there was no front of house and back of house. It was all one. The existence of this type of ethos is counter to so much of what we saw then and what we see now in fashion. And Azzedine Alaia didn't just break the rules of fashion, he opted out of so many of the business-as-usual processes. Where other designers were shackled to the calendar, scrambling for relevance with 4 or more collections a year, Alaia refused to be rushed. He showed when he was ready. Sometimes that meant skipping seasons entirely. Sometimes it meant inviting a small select group of editors and clients to see a finished collection long after Paris Fashion Week had passed. There was no fear of missing the moment, because for Alaia, the only moment that mattered was when the work was right. He once said, "The world doesn't need more clothes, it needs better ones." A sentiment still so important today. And that wasn't a slogan, it was a business model. Alaia rejected the machinery that turned fashion into spectacle. No bombastic runways, no teaser trailers, no celebrity-packed front rows. He didn't build a marketing machine. He barely gave interviews. And yet, the world came to him. Because when quality is real, silence can be louder than hype. This quiet resistance extended to retail too. His boutiques didn't follow merchandising trends or seasonal colour stories. They operated like galleries, timeless, minimal, focused entirely on the work. Alaia's pieces didn't go on sale, they didn't expire, they simply existed, like architecture waiting to be inhabited. Even his late career partnership with the Richemont Group, a move that surprised many, was structured around autonomy. Alaïa retained full creative control, insisted on keeping his atelier in the Marais, and continued to ignore fashion weeks. It wasn't a sellout. It was a strategic alignment, one that allowed the house to scale without surrendering its soul. Until the very end, Alaïa's business was an extension of his ethos: slow, sovereign, exacting. In an industry engineered for burnout, he stood for longevity, not just in what he made, but in how he made it. Because Alaïa didn't just design differently, he lived differently, he thought differently. And in doing so, he carved out a space where fashion could be something rarer than ever. It could be honest. When Azzedine Alaïa passed away in 2017, it wasn't just the loss of a designer. It felt like the absence of a key and influential voice in fashion. For a time, it felt like the house might remain suspended in mourning, preserved like a relic rather than reborn. Alaïa had always refused the machinery of modern fashion. How could his namesake survive without the man who had refused to separate his hands from the work? But over time, something rare happened, a transfer of vision without dilution. The house did not rush to reappoint. It waited, out of respect, out of principle, until the right successor emerged. That person was Pieter Mulier, appointed in 2021. Known for his long-time collaboration with Raf Simons, Mulier brought not just a sharp design pedigree, but an understanding of discipline, minimalism, and the emotional intelligence required to steward a legacy so intimate, so sacred. Mulier didn't arrive with disruption. He arrived with dialogue. His first act wasn't to impose, but to listen, to the archive, to the atelier, to the spirit of Alaïa's vision. His debut collection felt like a whisper from the founder's past. Second skin knits, perforated leather, corseted silhouettes, all reinterpreted with clarity and modern momentum. He honoured Alaïa's commitment to the female form, not by copying it, but by evolving it. And the results have been striking. Under Mulier, Alaïa has not only preserved its soul, it has flourished. The house has experienced double-digit growth, with Richemont reporting Alaïa as one of the most promising brands in its portfolio. This success is not built on spectacle, but on substance. Much of that success has come through the brand's cultivation of cult accessories, an area Alaïa himself had only lightly explored. Mulier introduced pieces that became instant icons. The Cœur bag, with its sculptural heart shape, references Alaïa's own 1992 Mon Cœur est à papa collection, a clever nod to heritage made contemporary. The Tekel, an elongated leather shoulder bag, fuses wit and structure, echoing Alaïa's love of form and play. Then there are the Fishnet ballet flats, a viral hit that perfectly embodies the Alaïa balance. Rigorous and sensual, delicate and tough. Beloved by editors and celebrities alike, these items have propelled Alaïa into a new kind of relevance, not trend-chasing, but cult-building. Beyond the product, Mulier has brought emotional intelligence to the brand's expansion. He's made the boutiques more inclusive, no longer appointment only, and introduced broader size ranges, subtle but powerful signals that the house is no longer just a secret whispered between insiders. It's open, expansive, and still uncompromising. In a post-hype, post-fast fashion moment, Alaïa's ethos feels prophetic. Mastery over noise, structure over speed. Under Pieter Mulier, it speaks a fluent new dialect of the same language Alaïa created, one of discipline, devotion, and quiet revolution. Azzedine Alaïa was a designer who defied some of the worst things about the fashion industry, who refused to obey the pretentious nature of the calendar, who rejected the premise of disposability. This quiet, stubborn, perfectionist artisan, who has come to represent fashion at its most elevated. He was, paradoxically, the most anti-fashion designer and the ultimate expression of fashion's true ideals. Integrity, form, beauty, precision. Observing Azzedine's approach presents an urgent lesson. His life teaches that restraint can be louder than any form of reinvention, that discipline is its own kind of seduction, that a garment made with care, over time, by hand, in direct conversation with the body it dresses, that kind of garment doesn't age, it endures. Alaïa saw fashion not as media, but as sculpture, always as art. And in a world overrun by simulation, that devotion to the real body, the real fabric, the real time it takes to make something well, is nothing short of radical. He did not waver, not once. And because of that, Azzedine Alaia left behind more than a legacy. He left behind a standard. He changed fashion. And that, more than fame, more than virality, more than the runway, is the true measure of genius. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time.